I was going to present the cases only and not talk so much about the Peepoo. But since there's so many new faces in the Susanna group, I thought it might be best to go back and actually explain what the Peepoo is. So the Peepoo is a biodegradable toilet. It's self-sanitizing, and it also, after use, has a value as a fertilizer. The sanitization process in emergencies is what's most important. The way it works is that you open it up and you spread it across one of the holders, either one of the holders that we provide or even a bucket. And it contains a powder inside, which is urea, a common fertilizer. And as your feces, in your feces you have an enzyme called urease. It will react with the urea to create ammonia. And as you have used the bag, you tuck the green gauze back in and tie it up with a knot, and you will have ammonia created with a reaction from the urease and the urea. So, and then thereby killing off all pathogens. And in temperatures, in the examples that I'll be giving, there you'll kill off cholera and salmonella in a matter of days, and it will be completely sanitized in a matter of weeks. And then after that, you can dispose of it and use of it as a fertilizer. But even if it were just to be disposed of, it's still safe and will not affect groundwater and surface water. So that's the principle of it. And about Peepoo as well as the company. We're a Swedish company. We were created in 2006. It comes from a professor of architecture, the idea, Anders Wilhelmsson. And it has been developed with the Swedish University of Agricultural Science in Uppsala, and together with the Royal Institute of Technology. And the actual biodegradable plastic, which is a certified plastic, it doesn't just fragmentize into smaller pieces of plastic, it actually completely decomposes into carbon dioxide and water. And that's also a partnership that we have with BASF, the chemicals company, the German chemicals company. So that's some of the background. Now I can go into the actual presentation on the case studies. So we've had several projects working in both urban slums and schools, and then also emergencies and refugee camps. Ongoing, we have a project in Kibera with about 5,000 users. We're also present in about 30 schools. And we have had previous projects also in slums, which are more on a trial base. In South Africa, also Bangladesh, we were quite early in Kenya as well, trying it out as a very new product, and also in India. In emergencies, the two cases I will talk about is the Kenyan Red Cross, as my presentation is related to floodings, and also UN Habitat in Pakistan. But we've also had a recent refugee project in Dadaab with CRS. We've been to Haiti twice, both with Oxfam and IRC. And also we have a more Western context example, which is from New Zealand. So moving on to the background, so I'll go through the background on the two projects, and then the method used, and then some conclusions we drew from that. And just to summarize also the way we work, we always work through NGOs or UN partners. And just to mention, since Jean is here, we're currently discussing setting up also a partnership with ACF. So, UN Habitat, so we were in the Sindh Plus, this was in 2011. And this was as a trial, so we are addressing 10 households for 10 days. The households were in 2 different villages. And the whole idea is to give a demonstration about the Peepoo, but also to try our methods and procedure. So we have an emergency response model that we have been trying out as well. But from UN Habitat's side, they wanted to demonstrate the viability of the Peepoo and also the user acceptability, and in an emergency scenario. And in the Kisumu case, which Kisumu is in the western parts of Kenya, this is a slightly different context, though both of the settings are floodings. because in the first case with UN Habitat, they were actually told that there was a trial, whereas in the Kisumu case, it was deployed by the Kenyan Red Cross as one of their responses to an emergency that they had at hand. And this was a 3-week intervention, and the idea was to prevent the spread of waterborne disease, and then also to try out the Peepoo solution, which was new to them. And before the intervention, there were 55% practicing open defecation and over 45% latrines. However, the latrines, because of the floods, were either completely destroyed or filled with water. So 78% of the population could not use the latrines they actually, before the floodings, had. And there was quite a large portion of the population that had problems or experienced trouble just going for defecation in general, also in the bush. Just to go back to UN Habitat, I didn't mention that, but there they had 100% open defecation. There were no latrines before the flood. So the method used is the same for both projects, and it's a method that we have developed, and now it integrates really well into the NGO's models. And what we do is we do a field assessment first of all, and then we train the trainer. So it's a training of trainers through facilitator introduction. So it's a cascading model where we work with hygiene promoters at the NGOs or the partner, and then those in turn will train the community. So it's a community mobilization that is completely managed by the partner. And then there's a follow-up. In the UN Habitat being such a short project, and there was one follow-up session, and then of course the evaluation at the end. Whereas in the Kenyan Red Cross, they preferred to visit, and because they wanted to observe the different households, so they went back regularly every 48 hours to see how they were using it, more for an observation point of view. And that was then used also in the evaluation. So at the end, there's a 2-day evaluation going around to the households. And there are also interviews done through questionnaires. And in the Kenyan Red Cross, they also had a different method where they had focus groups. And the focus groups involved the hygiene promoters and the people on the ground, so the ground staff. And for the Kenyan Red Cross, so these are the Kenyan Red Cross lessons learned. They found that even though the project is implemented with hygiene promotion, they would want to see in future also a more holistic approach where it includes hand washing is of course included and was included in their deployment, but also water treatment and other things related to sanitation. They found that the training of trainers was something that worked really well and fitted into their model. Disposal mechanism. The disposal in flooded areas is of course an issue, and we had a lot of discussions around that. It was not decided when we started the Kenyan Red Cross project how the Peepoos would be disposed. We had options that either they would be collected or buried. So this is something that, for a longer project, is of importance, and it's a pity not to use such a valuable resource after use. And then they also felt that it's very important to educate the community as to, first of all, how to use it, but then also how long it will take for it to sanitize, how it should be kept before it is fully sanitized and safe to handle. And they also have something that we will be discussing further with them is to integrate it also with other approaches that they are using, like CLTS and FAST. And moving on to conclusions, in UN Habitat, being a short demonstration, there are less statistics and more just to get a feel of which direction the community and how they felt about the solution. And they were very positive and very quick to adopt the Peepoo. They found it easy to understand. And being also a rural area where you had farmers, they were already using feces as a fertilizer. For them, they saw a direct value, and also the value of this is even higher than, since it contains urea, is higher than just using feces, and also the safety aspect. So there were discussions in the community on whose plot or whose field the used peepoos would be spread after the demonstration. And also during the demonstration, the behavior changed, and going from a community with 100% open defecation, all of them used the peepoo and wanted to continue using the peepoo. And for the Kenyan Red Cross, there were 100% of the households, so there were 40 households, and all of them were using, and 87.5% of those, the whole families within the households were using it. So the exception of very young children or elderly who had trouble squatting. So it's a very high user acceptability there. And they also found that it had made, the peepoo had made life easier. And again, the train the trainer concept, which is, it fits very smoothly into the Kenyan Red Cross's procedures. And also, the Kenyan Red Cross found that this is a solution that can be used in the meantime before they start scaling up, rebuilding those latrines that were flooded. So it's something that can be used as an initial response, and that's how they see it. And just to summarize, we know that they're small projects for 10 versus 40 households, which leaves us at 70 and around 200, 250 people in each of the cases. So they are only to give us indications on the peepoo. Of course, large-scale projects are required to see how it would fit in an emergency scenario. Though when it comes to users on a large scale is something we have experience from, but to try it out in emergency is something that we need still to do. So, thank you.
Thank you.